The Justice Department has just indicted former President Donald Trump.
For 7 years, they hated him, they targeted him, they hunted him.
This is the epitome of the abuse of the prosecutorial power to preempt political decisions.
I never thought anything like this could happen in America. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back our country, and we will make America great again. America will always rise to every challenge and overcome every danger.
Donald Trump seems to always get stronger when challenged. These types of things, I think, give him strength.
When I'm reelected, I will totally obliterate the deep state. As long as we have pride in our beliefs, courage in our convictions, and faith in our God, then we will not fail.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's live. Today's is going to be a very special interview between Donald Trump and Elon Musk on X. So we are joining here to watch it together. And if you're on YouTube, there's a live chat. So you can make your, put in your comments, your reaction, whatever you want to say. Because, we are poor freedom, meaning we're not going to censor anybody. We're not going to kick anybody out or delete any comments. Right, Thomas?
That's correct. You got something to say, let's say it. Try to be respectful.
That's right.
We do have to maintain some standard.
Right. So the talk of the town today is Trump is back on X since, what is it? The January 6th incident? That was 2020, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So at the time, Elon Musk does not own X yet. And Elon Musk revised Trump and some of other influencer who got canceled on X back into, Twitter, quote unquote X. Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the censorship? Anyone who's watching, please put your comments. What are your thoughts on censorship? Because for me personally, I believe we should have a free of speech. We should express our emotions, our thoughts. We're not, unless you're really harming somebody or you are violent, try to put a harm or try to be violent towards someone, then yes, we have to stop that. But if we just want to make a comment, make a point of view, make a perception, or we should have the right to do so, not to follow like the political agenda that you're not following my agenda, so we're gonna cancel you, right? So what's your thought on the censorship, Thomas?
Censorship and policing walk a fine line, in my point of view. Yes, I don't believe in censorship as far as people wanting to make a statement, make a point, but it always comes down to, at the end of the day, it always comes down to whose feelings got hurt by what you said. And that's when policing starts to overreach. And with a lot of platforms, they can't censor, they can't review every single post or statement or whatnot or response for to make sure that, so if there's a human, making sure it's adequate. A lot of that stuff is digitally done through the server. So a lot of times when you get
Right.
canceled or censored or something, it's because somebody complained because they didn't like what you said.
Mhm.
And 9 times out of 10, I hate to say this, but especially when it comes to anybody that's riding the woke train, it's always how it was said and not what was said.
Yeah.
And that
And
really irritates me, because I'm like, if you can't have a discussion, how can you claim free speech and non-censorship? Because
yeah,
today is because today it's this group, tomorrow it'll be your group, next week it'll be another group.
right.
That when we start playing the little nuances and stuff, it messes everything up. And now you're doing like this, like they censored Donald Trump for January 6th. Well, I get it. You don't like Donald Trump because of his past, because a lot of things he said. But at the same time, I'm like, I get it. But at the same time, until he actually breaks the law and does
Mhm.
something, he's the same as every other American. And you got
True.
to give him, and you have to give him that right. Because if you don't give him that right, why should you expect anybody else to give it to you?
Yes.
And,
Very
and
true.
too many people have forgotten that.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And another censorship, besides well, it's kind of related to political, it's the COVID. Even today, 2024, we still have censorship over COVID that, people express, oh, the vaccine is injure people, whoever takes the vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, my content is very controversial these days, and I post on TikTok. There's a lot of bans on TikTok, on my TikTok, because of that reason. And it's funny that go ahead. Yeah.
No. I was gonna say let's take half steps about the COVID thing, because there are so many. There's so many left and rights on that.
Yeah.
Even when it was going on, a big deal, there was so much that was said, so much that wasn't said. Like I took the vaccines,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Right.
looked at both of the popular versions of the vaccine and
Mm-hmm.
how it was made, what they said it was, and this and that. And then I made my decision on which one to take
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I'm not going to go into which one that was, because we don't want to bog this down on that issue right now. We can go have we can do a whole nother train on that.
Right.
But on
But
that one is, I made my decision by looking at who was doing it, what it was, how it was made, and then also on the political front, who's really promoting what and why. Because a lot of people forget. There is a reason a lot of your politicians promote the shit they do. There's a
mhm.
reason they take a lot of positions they do. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, is because he takes positions that a lot of minorities don't find beneficial to them or helpful. And he said a lot of things in the past, and he's done a lot of things in the past to show a proof of character that they can't believe in. And a lot of white people believe in him because he ain't done that shit to them. I don't care what anybody says. At the end of the day, that's the main reason why. One, and two, they want to be like him. Three, he talks to them. He doesn't talk. And this is the big thing that a lot of politicians have forgotten how to do. They don't talk to their voting base. They talk around them. They talk over them. And Kamala Harris, if you paying attention, you see this, you should really pay attention. Forget all that fake stuff you doing. All that jargon you learn to talk so you can get a job as a DA and do all. Forget all that stuff. You better go back to your roots and talk to these people for real.
Yeah.
Since you threw your
And
head, yeah, because since she threw her ring in her hat in the ring, she can't run this. She can't run this shit like they've always done. So I'll be the first one to tell them, woman, you ain't gonna never be Michelle Obama. I don't care what anybody say. You ain't
yes,
gonna never be a
you
Michelle Obama.
yeah, you are right. I am again 100% agree with you with the vaccine. It should be a pro-choice, not forcing, not put a stop. If you're not taking it, then you're a bad person, like that.
Yeah,
And
and
as
that's the
far
thing that really burnt them on
yeah,
that was they tried to force people to take it.
right. And as far as Kamala Harris, that's another issue because to as I'm sure everybody agree that she did not get the vote to become the front runner, correct? And they just put her into the spot and kind of
She's
like
shooting her shot. She's in the
yeah,
position.
right.
She's seeing an opportunity. The Democratic Party seeing an opportunity. And they're shooting
Hmm.
their shot. However, in light of Donald Trump coming back and running, if I'll be honest with you, in light of Donald Trump coming back and running and knowing what the fervor he's going to bring, the level of competition he's going to bring for votes,
Remember that nothing worth doing
I
is
would
ever
not.
easy.
I would
You'll
never
have bad
vote
moments.
Kamala Harris.
You gotta
I
love
would
what
like,
you're
no, we're
doing.
gonna move
And if
you
you
back to
don't,
your
just do
state.
something.
You're gonna be the leading senator, and you keep yourself abreast of everything, stay involved and whatnot, or and while you're doing that, go do your due diligence to show and politically that you are 1,000 times more competent than Hillary Clinton was when she did that shit. That's why she never ran for president after going back and becoming a senator of New York, because everybody's like, ew, what is that? That's exactly how it was. I wish I had a clip of that brother doing that, because I'd be like, hey, brother, what is that? No, that this is it's because people can forget you're a politician. Once you get to a certain level, it's like a 60-40. You got to talk to the people, know how to woo them, get them to go and vote. You can't talk to them like they're you can't talk to them like they're investors. You can't talk to them like, no, you can't talk over them. You can't talk around them. You definitely don't want to talk like they don't really understand what's going on and you know better, because you're trying to get somebody to, it's like when you're trying to get somebody to spend money for you, you're going to talk down to them? No.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward for this the so-called interview. I don't know how it's gonna go down. Some people suspect it's gonna be a audio format only, because I believe X does not have the video. I don't know. So somebody is talking about that, and
Yeah, I
there's
don't
a
know what they're
and
gonna
then
do. When you mentioned
besides
it, I was shocked.
yeah besides that whole thing we're just talking about, there's a letter came from the Europe trying to stop this live broadcast from happening. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I did a quick search and I saw a couple things
Hmm.
about that, and I'm like, why not? I'm like, first of all, I'm real like leery on that. To me, that sounds like a outright propaganda ploy. I'm leery on that because I'm really, really, I'm really like this. I don't see why the European Union would even bother, because
I
one, they
know,
know their
right?
opinion doesn't mean jack.
What-
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They know their opinion doesn't mean jack. I figure if it came from anybody, it probably came from somebody who thought they had more clout than they really do. And they're
Yeah,
trying
and
to.
then also based on how Elon Musk is, I don't think it's gonna affect him as well, right?
Yeah,
He will just
especially like,
like not.
especially yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm like, especially I'd be like, hey, I would never even send Elon Musk a stupid letter like that because I know for a fact he'd be like, "Go fuck yourself." Oh,
That's
you
what
know what
he
I'm
said.
saying?
That's what he said last time to Disney. Remember? So
Yeah, yeah. He said that. He said that to more than just Disney. He's told a lot of people that. And I'm like, you got to remember, Elon's got fu money. You know what I'm saying? I don't have fu money, but I guarantee you, if I did have fu money, everybody would know my nickname that my buddies, friends from high school, kind of knew me as. Like,
mm.
and some people in the Navy knew too. But I used to drop the f bombs like nobody's business back in the day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had to learn how to not do that anymore. In a regular conversation,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't even know I was doing it. You talk to somebody that's F this, F that. You know what an effing mean? And they're looking at you like, after a while, they're not listening to what you're saying. They're just trying to count how many times you said that one word. You're like, okay. But
Yeah.
it's like
So
anybody would be like that. Anybody that's got FU money, they know for a fact they get FU money, and they're gonna tell you. You start going like coming at them sideways, they're gonna tell you go, they're gonna tell you where to go stick your head.
yeah, so I still again same thing. I don't know what's wrong with that European letter is about. And maybe somebody just want to get a 5-second fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it more sounds like somebody looking for their 15 minutes of fame or 15 seconds.
15 and 5 seconds. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it
it
sounds
sounds
like that.
exactly like that because it's
Mhm.
one of those things. You're just like, I don't see where you actually think,
It's gonna make
there's
any
any.
difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, I live in LA. I put it like this: I live in LA. I know for a fact how 15 seconds will change your life. You know what I'm saying? I know for
Mhm.
a fact how 15 seconds will change your life. I see people like you live here too. I know you've seen it over the years. How
Mhm.
people act when they think they're gonna get their 15 seconds or they trying to get their 15 seconds. You've seen what they do and how they act. It's like, shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I seen people that you would have sworn up and down, oh, they'd never do something like that. I've known them for 20 years. I've known that
mhm.
person since we were in third grade. Would never do something like that. 2 minutes later, they get in their 15 seconds, and you're like, he said, what?
Mhm.
He did
Yeah.
what? She said.
So I want to ask you a quick question because we have about 10 minutes. So I
Yes, yes, yes.
Kanye West, we all know Kanye West. He seems like a big supporter of Donald Trump even since his first term, right?
Yeah.
And then recently, I think believe about a year ago, he started coming out and not just talk about Trump, but talk about Jewish people, and he got censored. He got canceled, right? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious to know, in your point of view, what do you think? Does he deserve
Oh,
to get
oh, you,
censored? Does he deserve to get canceled? You know?
you trying to get you trying to see if you can get your show can't censored, huh?
No.
Hey,
Yeah, I
I'll put it
mean,
to you like this. You know exactly how the Jews are when it comes to entertainment and anybody saying anything about Jews negative. You
yeah.
know, we don't care if it was right or wrong or shoulda, woulda, coulda,
Hmm.
because we know the truth about most of the accusations and what's been going on, what will happen.
Hmm.
But we see their actions, and that's all I need. That's all I need to see. I see their actions. Every time something comes up, every time something happens, I see their actions. I see the stance they take, and I have my own personal opinion about it. But this is your show, and I'm not trying to cause you a fight.
It's okay. I'm the one asking you, right?
Oh, I know, but I'm like, you don't need. In my opinion, you don't need that kind of smoke. There's a lot of kind of smoke you can catch and make entertainment. You don't need that kind of smoke right now.
Okay. Sure. Understood.
Huh?
I say I understood. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So,
Now,
we have about 5 minutes or so. So I just want to also point out, since we're on the censorship topic, another one is about 2 weeks ago, last 2 weeks, we've been doing live about Olympic Games. So it seems like
yeah,
I
the
got
IOC.
two or three videos got taken down because of Olympic. I'm showing the ceremony openings. We're showing what's the other one? The one that's the boxers, right? I really think that's really strange. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I do, but the legal advice I got on that was we need to get with a real specialist on it to go over it, because it's a lot of. It's like it's one of those areas you don't learn about till you jump into that end of the pool. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of gray area in there. And sometimes some people don't want to fight the gray area. They just go with it and let somebody else fight that fight. Like YouTube not
True.
choosing to fight the IOC because they don't want stress with the IOC over, you know,
Mhm.
broadcasts for any other stuff. But the IOC's got
Mhm.
to remember the IOC doesn't produce the Olympics. The IOC
Mhm.
doesn't. They don't produce the Olympics. They don't produce some media for the Olympics. They coordinate it. They coordinate everybody doing everything. They bring everything together, and they're a governing body for competition.
Right.
They
So,
may have claimed rights to certain things, but it can easily be contested in any country because they have to. Any of that stuff for the IOC can be easily contested because it's not like the NFL. Nobody's paying to be a part of the IOC.
mhm.
They may start that, but it doesn't matter because anybody can come around tomorrow, create a new kind of Olympic venue, whatever, and totally crush the IOC. The
Yeah.
IOC doesn't want that kind of smoke because it's just that nobody contests them because they're like nobody really wants that. Nobody wants to have that kind of fight. But at the end of the day,
Mhm.
any country, they don't have to have that kind of fight. And that's the thing that really the IOC needs to learn. Any country can be like, you know what? Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? You are not the Olympics. You are not the end all be all. You're just you're just the
Mhm.
people doing it now. I'm tired of your
Mhm.
mess. I'm tired of you messing with my citizenry. Go screw
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah, I was just shocking that they are so sensitive and take down those videos, and we're not, like,
Well, yeah,
sharing
if you're the
something,
IOC, yeah,
share something really secretly. We're just kind of repost what everybody posts
well, the
and cut,
IOC in
you
a
know.
way has to. Because the IOC
Yeah.
knows for a fact they can't get jack without none of those networks
Mhm.
broadcasting the Olympics. They ain't gonna be nothing. They ain't gonna be nobody. They know for a fact they ain't gonna never be anybody without the network. But they know they can cut everybody else off
Mhm.
from trying to share their opinion
Right.
because, especially if it shows the IOC in a negative light. And if I was the IOC, I would be like, you should really stay away from any kind of woke anything. Anytime you go to a country, it should be only about the verifiable traditional makeup values, traditions of that country. You should never show anything else.
Are you
And
talking
if
about?
you do show
Are you
if you do want to show some people that are
are you
gay or
talking about
trans,
China?
you have them doing that
No,
patriotic shit too.
I was teasing you. I said, "Are you talking about China?" No, I'm joking. I'm the
What
one
about
talking.
oh
I'm the one
China?
talking about China. When you describe when you go to certain country, you have to follow their culture. You have to follow this and that. You know.
Oh yeah, China does that. China does that stuff because China thinks China's the shit. China doesn't know
Oh,
that China was better off before they jumped headlong into the global market. In a way, they were better
that
off.
was in the 80s, before the 90s. They were close
Yeah,
off to
because
the world.
they had true control over their country then. But once they
Mm.
jumped into the global market, they just gave up control in the
I
way that they were used to with the political party,
Yes.
the Communist political party being the ultimate
I
power.
really believe what happened is they still have the control inside China, but they open the market. So the economy, the market is considered capitalism, but the
Hmm.
inside, the politic, the control with the
Yeah, they
citizen is
tried that, and
still communist structure.
what's their
Yeah.
leader's name?
Xi Jinping right now.
Yeah, they tried that, and when Xi Jinping was coming into, when he was taking control of everything and coming into power,
Hmm.
and this has been talked about. I'm not making this up, but this has been talked about. It's been discussed.
Right.
You can find these discussions elsewhere. But the thing is, when he was coming in control and taking power, he eliminated, up to this day, all
Hmm.
opposition. Not only did he eliminate all opposition, he eliminated a lot of necessary support, to really do stuff. So now it's like, I don't know if it's still at that point, but now it's at the point where he's a leader with subordinates that are basically afraid to come and bring him bad news when
Hmm.
when something goes wrong.
Right. Yeah.
You can't lead nothing if your subordinates are afraid to bring you bad news. You're literally a train wreck right waiting to happen at that point.
Hmm.
And all this stuff with their economy, which is now doing
Yeah.
a freaking barrel roll somersault. Nobody knows how it's going to survive because, like I said, when you have that kind of leadership that eliminates people because they're not doing it the way, they're not making it happen the way you wanted to make it happen.
Hmm.
Well, those that can leave.
Yeah.
And they
Agree.
set up ways to manage stuff, keep managing stuff so the money comes in. But as long as they physically aren't there you go. They're good. And
Yeah.
what's he gonna do?
Talk about money. They are probably gonna dump US dollar. Go
They
with
have
the
no
brick.
choice. They have no
Go with
choice right now.
brick.
I know tons of politicians are trying to have backdoor talks with them all the friggin' time, trying to get them to not drop the dollar because they
Mhm.
own so much of the debt and their
Yeah.
own what's it, yuan? Chinese currency is the
Yeah.
yuan.
Yes. Okay. I
Uh,
think the interview is started. It so let's hear the
yeah,
interview.
let's go there.
Okay. It's loading. Hang on.
He's playing it on his thing, right?
Mm-hmm. So hang on 1 second.
Boy, this election right here is gonna I guarantee you this election right here is gonna change the presidency for not just the presidency, but a lot of offices. That's all we can do. I'm ready to send Donald a little message because I'm looking at it from his page while you're looking at it from Elon's page. Yeah, if I see something going on, I'll say something. But I'm ready to send him a message like, yo, what it is, my brother. I can't hear nothing but your funky jazz. Your slow pop jazz going on. Yeah.
Thomas has something to say.
About what? What?
You have something to say?
Oh no! Well, earlier I was saying since we're waiting on that, we can move ahead and well, not move ahead. We can backtrack if you want to, continue on more on the censorship issue.
Okay.
Where is it? I know it's been like we both know it's like a big deal right now, and everybody's going on. Censorship is good or is it bad? And it's like censorship is a double-edged sword, and in some respects you want censorship because some people are too stupid to have a regular conversation. You know what I'm saying? Some people are too stupid to just have an actual conversation, especially since every time they have a conversation, they're allowing their feelings and their emotions to rule the words that come out of their mouth. They're allowing their feelings and emotions to rule and control the words and concepts that enter their ear and their brain. And too many people listen to respond, then listen to understand, and that's their fault. I'm never going to say that's the speaker's fault because it's not. The speaker's fault is to make sure that you're talking in a way that people understand you. And if you see that they don't understand what you're trying to put down, you need to backtrack and say to them and express what you're trying to get across in another manner or better. That doesn't mean you need to police your words of how you said something, but you do need to be cognizant you can't go way off in the left field in the conversation and start yelling, when you're supposed to be over on third base. You gotta know you can't do that. You can't have the attitude that I'm gonna say what I feel like saying, because that's not how a true conversation works. What you feel is supposed to provide you input on what you're trying to say. That's where you get your passion for what you're trying to put out. But you're supposed to use, your logic and your conversation skills to express that in a way that somebody can understand. You're not trying to get this person to change their mind. You're trying to get this person to understand your point of view. Because they don't see the world the way you see it. You don't see the world the way they see it. Not a single human being sees the world the same. We all see the same thing, like this cup. We can agree that we see a cup, or we can agree that we see a thermos since it's insulated. You know what I'm saying? So now we already got two different things, two different conversations that can overlap, or they can be totally separate. And when we get argumentative about it, start using unproductive choice words, censorship comes in. Because I may have, I got plenty of t-shirts. This one that says, everything I know about life, I learned from video games. I have another one that says, I love sarcasm because it's like punching people in the face with words. Yeah. Yes and no. Everything in life is a yes and no. Everything in life is a trade-off. Everything is a double. But at the same time, censorship is for a reason. And censorship is meant to prevent people from harassing another individual, whether it's justly or unjustly. We still do it to prevent harassment, to maintain a civil society, because you can't live with anarchy. Nobody lives in anarchy. Nobody enjoys anarchy. Even the guy that loves watching the world burn has days where he does not want anarchy, because anarchy doesn't care about his feelings or his timetable. So let's all be real. Censorship is for a reason, to prevent hate crimes and detrimental speech that will cause people to do harm to themselves. We've seen it happen before, and we've seen people do it and get away with it. And and I'm not going to bring any up, but there was one classic case from I was going to say the late '90s, early 2000s, involving a news reporter and a young woman who reported her child missing. And that's all I can say to missing. It was a totally terrible thing that happened because of not being censored and regulated. And that's how far things can go in a bad direction. We got to remember, censorship for things to prevent things from going in a bad direction. It's not to prevent things from going in a good direction. Prevent things from going in a bad direction. I don't care what you feel, what you think, or what you want. When you bring about hateful, detrimental speech, you've just, you've already lost the conversation. You've already lost the argument. People say that and they try to be like, oh yeah, that's the high road. No, when you start doing that, you already lost the argument. There's nothing you're arguing about that's high road, better, more logical. It's just this is the end of it. You've lost the argument when so it's trying not to. How do you say? I'm trying not to go like way off in the bleachers with this. It's like censorship is good when it's regulated properly. And like in this case, especially when it comes to the internet, because anybody can complain about something somebody posted and you can claim it's hate speech or detrimental. You can claim a whole lot of things. And the first two checks are more than likely going to be a digital check by a computer or a server to see if the words written down constitute hate speech. I've had comments I made that were not hateful at all. In fact, they were positive. But because I had certain key words in there, it was flagged. I couldn't say that. Some places, some places are worse than others for that. But we also got to remember it's expensive to have it's way more expensive to have a person doing it than it is to have a computer doing it. Because you're gonna have to have 100 times as many people as a computer doing the same thing. And these platforms generate I don't know, I'd have to look it up. How many tweets are there in 1 hour in 1 day? That'll just give you an idea.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
Some people just tweet all day long.
Yeah,
right?
and that's like insane. Twitter usage, just how many Twitter tweets per day? It's amazing. I love the fact that everybody still calls it Twitter, even though we know it's as X, and we say, "Yo, you mean X? Yeah, so whatever." It's like it reminds me of when Prince turned his name into a symbol to get away from the to get away from the record industry and regain total control of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "Oh, we still call it Twitter." At least he knew not to change the name to something that would totally screw it up. Apparently, over 500 million tweets are sent out every day, meaning around 6,000 tweets are being shared per second.
Wow.
350 per minute. That is
it's crazy.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So
that makes Elon's acquisition of Twitter just stupendously like a no-brainer. Like, how did what?
Yeah, I really think this
in an hour.
I don't think this interview is gonna go anywhere. I think they don't have enough bandwidth. It's just keep playing music. I don't know what happened. It's crazy. Like yeah, so keep talking.
Maybe Donnie all of a sudden wasn't feeling it.
Donnie.
Hey, he's done it before. I mean, I'm not trying to disparage the guy, but I'm like, hey, he's done it before. He's dragged feet coming out for interviews. He's just not shown up.
What if somebody tried to stop it and make it look like this?
Get to speak up over the music.
I say, what if somebody did this on purpose?
What if somebody?
Yeah, stop the broadcasting.
Oh no, I don't think that. I don't see that happening. It's
you don't see that?
Yeah, I mean, even if they hacked his stuff, they'd have to be. It takes a lot longer than It's not like people think how it is in the movies, where a hacker comes up and says stuff and he just hacks the bananas out of your stuff and runs off with it, and runs off with control. It's not it's only immediate for people that are
Can you still hear the music right now? Can you still hear the music right now?
Am I using Google right now?
Can you hear the music right now? Still,
That's all I hear is music. I'm hearing it from you.
for me, it's not sharing anymore.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me
I
drop.
don't know.
Then that's me. Let me drop Donnie here.
John Tommy.
No
No, I'm
offense,
still
Donnie.
hearing.
We'll catch up with you later.
I'm still hearing you because I'm still.
No, that's me. That's me.
No,
I
I'm
was
still
looking for
hanging
the
on to the
I was looking for the log out button, and
I'm still hanging on to the live broadcasting, so that's why.
you still have it going.
Yeah, I just want to see. Oh, I just see what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Okay, now it went silence.
Well, I log out of mine for now. We'll keep yours because you can do it, and you can do the audio separately. Mine's just coming through the
Okay,
same output.
okay. There's a tweet. It says there appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X.
Denial of
You
service. That
see,
means
working on
the
shutting it
easiest thing
down.
you do. That means that they've had tons and tons of
You
people
see,
and
if you go
log into Twitter.
if you know, it's an attack. See, let me share the screen. 1 second. Now we have something to talk about. One
Yeah,
second. Hang in there.
that is the easiest thing they could have come up with is have a bunch of people have a bunch of bots
Can you
log in.
see it now? Can you see the screen now?
It's coming up.
Okay, let's rehear it. There appears to be a massive DDoS attack. I don't know what that means. Working on shutting it down. Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live stream listener and post conversation later. So there's an attack, but I don't know what's DDoS attack mean.
Direct denial of service or dedicated denial of service.
What does that mean?
Digital denial of service. It means
Speaking in English.
it means a bunch of people got together, made a bunch of virtual machines.
Oh.
If your computer's strong enough, you can make hundreds of virtual machines, and that means like you made a couple hundred virtual computers on your computer, and you can direct them all. You can send them all script instructions on what to do, and have every single one of those 400 or 500 computers log into
Is it
a service.
is that normal or is that considered a hack?
Oh, that's an old school tactic. That's just been around. It's just one of those things that you can't really. It's hard to fight because it's easy to get an account and make up an email address and a name, and you can use any old address when you sign up for an account with somebody. And they can go on Google Mail and create a bunch of email addresses, all with the same physical address.
Yeah, let's see what the comments are saying here. Can you see the screen? Let's see. It's not showing. Oh, somebody said it's the Democrat.
Are you clicking on
the somebody tweet reply is
it's Dems fighting to save democracy from two massive disruptors.
See, look at you were just threatened by the European Unions. See, that's why we were just
They would have the capability of doing that, but like I said, at the end of the day, I said the same thing. Who cares? Donald Trump's not threatening the European Union with shit.
Yeah.
Donald Trump being president is no threat to the European Union. Because for as much smack as Donald Trump talks to the American people, he can really overstep only so far.
So everyone is waiting. I'm still on here though. See?
I love how they say
But I don't see Elon Musk on here anymore. He logged off. Right.
Yeah,
He was
he's
here as a co-host earlier.
yeah, he would have been right next to
Yeah,
Donald.
Donald.
He's
Okay.
going to figure out what's going on and how they can.
Look at this one. The person in charge of preventing the attack. That
I
yeah.
can't even lie. I think that's
That's the Secret Service agent on the shoot at the rally
I think
shooting.
that was one
Uh-oh.
of the few mistakes. You know, that was one of the few woke mistakes. A lot of we did with security was lowering standards
Mm-hmm.
to be inclusive. And I'm like, I know for a fact, if I became president and I saw that, I'd be like, no, we're not doing that. It's like, I'd be damned, you're going to protect me and my family, and we got lowered standards just so, just so somebody can feel included and make it in. Nah, you better get over that high hurdle.
I believe if anything, it has to the foundation has to still be there. Like you have the skill set, you have the
Who
experience,
cares
not just
if you
because
can't
based
go
on
the
your
same
color,
distance?
your gender, your background.
It doesn't matter. If you can't go the same distance, you're going to drag the rest of your team down. You are going to be the linchpin that creates the opening for the mission to fail. I know a lot of people always like, oh, that's not fair. I don't care about fair. I care about everybody making it back the same. I care about everybody coming back as much as possible, as many people as possible. I care about dominating the opposition. I don't care about making it inclusive just so you can participate. You better get your butt up over that high hurdle and keep running.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think that now even the music is off. I think.
And then on top of that, she's fat. I don't care what anybody says. She's fat. And that pisses me off even more.
That means she won't be able to move fast.
She ain't running. She looked like a cop. But,
so,
I mean, I know there's a lot of fit and in shape cops, but there's also a butt ton of out of shape cops. What the fuck?
Okay. All right. So Thomas.
She couldn't even pick up a 2-year-old. How's she gonna push the president in the car?
Looks like well, this time the technical issue is not from us. It's from the X. And so let's I guess let's close out this live, and I thank you again for everyone
There's
who's listening and watching.
138,000 people in their chat.
Yeah. And I guess we'll come back. If they repost the whole thing, we'll watch it or listen, and me and Thomas will come back and just do a live for the reaction, to respond.
Yes, we will return and bring you.
All right, hello everyone.
He's back.
My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation. And it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. So it's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview.
Now, good thing we didn't lock off.
And this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation? So, honored to Donald. Great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people. And it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, maybe we could start off with, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that
we were just talking about that too.
Your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that's, the president of the United States represents America, and I think that is America. That is strength under fire.
That's right.
And so that's a big part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here. Is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be pleasant. I said there was blood. I had more blood. I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about, because it went at the right angle, and it was a hard hit. It was very. I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. I was telling somebody, you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation. And I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah. And
because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, bullets, bullets, get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly. And we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter. And so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was, for those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer. Now I'm more of a believer, I think. And a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle. And all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even more
maybe
now.
It's a sign. Maybe that's a sign.
Yeah.
It's an immigration sign.
You highlighted a serious issue. And at that moment, the bullet missed your, hit your ear, but missed your head.
The amazing thing is that the sign, I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good, and after that it was going to be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad situation. As you know, we lost somebody that was great, Corey, who a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great Trumper. He was just a fantastic family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, I'd like to give the family some kind of help. And I said, that's great. He said, do you mind? I said, I don't mind at all. And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife. And, he said, this is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back.
Why is
which
he
is
asking Trump if he
a nice thing for somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great. And we raised a lot of money for them and for Two other gentlemen are unbelievable people also. They were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the two, and they were really hit tough, both of them equally. And we thought, my first question was, because I heard bullets flying over me, I said, how many people were killed? Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous, thousands and thousands of people. And there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, how many people have been killed? Because I knew there were other shots being fired. And they said, we don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt. And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper, because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem. And he was able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium. And he saw the smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it, and immediately took a shot. And it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been badly hurt and killed. So I have to take my hat off to him, because that's also a surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years, and he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden, he has to act, and it's a very tough thing to act and to be shooting somebody. But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. I obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I assume you have to have in that particular work. But he took aim very quickly, and they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range, one bullet. If that didn't happen, because the shooter had a lot of bullets, he had a lot of cartridges up there with him. So
well, I mean that's clearly he was very competent in taking that shot to stop the attempted assassination. But I mean, there does seem to be some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like, there's just no way that, like, how on earth does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? That seems crazy. I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen.
Well, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people, because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and Trump all over it.
I know.
And that guy's got a gun. You saw it probably. There's a guy up there with a gun.
I mean, it's like I guess, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering, how the heck are, basically people wandering by pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun. And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed.
Yeah, everybody's seen it.
That does seem crazy.
Well, they're going to learn from this.
Right.
The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then
I don't think
ultimately
there's
a
a
man
communication.
lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up, and he saw the man with the gun. The man with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun, and he fell down. Actually, very badly hurt his.
That's
leg,
why I've been so hard on this whole.
I hear very badly, but he fell down, and he did. From what I understand, he did say there's a guy up there with a gun, and the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooters to go maybe quicker. He was supposed to be a very good shot,
which allowed this.
My sons, Don and Eric, they can't
once again, I'm like,
but they said from 130 yards,
but
a bad shot at target almost every time. They said it's like in golf, sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah, it's not a tough shot.
It's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. Look, it's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on, I think they're screaming, but other people also, because people saw this happen. You had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control
nobody
people
run.
showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums, at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at, some of these matches or these games, and
No, you didn't.
nobody left. You had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see, and a lot of press too. There was, many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it, so sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede. Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people because it's so different from what you heard. But so I was down. But the Secret Service guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing. And
wow.
And these guys came jumping on top of me, and a young lady, Kate. Would jump. They
That's
moved
the lady
so
you're
fast,
talking
and
about.
let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now there was lack of
The young lady.
there was, obviously everybody understands that there's somebody that
I'm not
that
here to talk
building's
about her
covered.
anymore. She's doing a job that's
I mean,
That was the
I think
big
that
thing.
like
never been involved in
I
something.
mean, look
That's,
at the aerial.
I feel like it's probably her
that
first,
thing would be like the number one
interaction
spot for a
with
sniper. I mean,
action
it's like
as an
the,
SS agent.
if you were to pick like what is the favorite,
I'll give her some.
what if
I'll
you
give her some
like
credit
the goal
on
is
that.
to assassinate? What's your favorite
First time
spot in that
something
building?
happened, you're
That
kind of
You're right.
freaking out. Like,
number one.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better location. It's like number
No,
one.
that would have been the spot. You know what people think is when the local policeman, who, by the way, he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head. And when he fell down, again, hurt his ankle very badly, but he was making the calls. But what happened is the firing took place very soon. So what they think is that this guy ran to his site, which he had all planned out with the gun. He ran to the site and he started shooting fast. And maybe that's why he sort of missed. I mean, he
but as you
got
said,
me, but
he
it
would have
could have
hit.
been could have been a much bigger problem.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So like there was.
It's a good miss.
It was a very near thing.
It was a miracle. If I hadn't turned my head, I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly,
I would not.
Yeah,
I would not be talking.
I thought they
from
hate
another realm,
everybody.
perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. We'd be talking from a different place. But it was a it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good. There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that, there was just a bad feeling that there was somebody was around. You know that story now. It's been And if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, like there'd be a lightning storm or something. Because I've done, I think over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something, right? And that happens often. And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened. But it didn't get coordinated. That was the problem.
True.
Well, it was I think your actions in the heat of fire, and like what I found admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual, or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And
Right.
yeah, so
Thank you very
yeah,
much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know, I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And
They
they
would have never
wanted,
let you up.
they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher. And I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else
yeah,
because it was such a lot of blood. And they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, sir, you were hit in more than the ear. I said, nope, I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up. And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to
got
think.
his shoes
And
too.
I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let them
yeah,
know that. And they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I
yeah,
got up because they didn't know, was I alive? You really couldn't tell. When I stood up before the the fist in the air,
Right.
they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did.
Yeah.
And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing.
yeah.
It was a
Well,
terrible thing, but it
it
was
was
really nice.
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration slide. Maybe this,
That's right.
maybe this is worth talking about that.
It was
That slide saved
You're
your
right.
life.
No,
Basically.
the
Slide
illegal
saved his
immigration
life.
saved my life. You're right, but it was.
I
I had to
know,
be at
that's
that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. saved by illegal immigration.
The incredible
100%.
thing, though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle. But the incredible thing is that the chart, I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment.
Yeah.
It's always on my left, never my right, and it's always at the end of the speech. So here we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end. And even the people that put it up, they were unprepared, and they did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately. But I looked to the right, and the bullet came whizzing by, hitting my ear. So it was amazing. But when you think of the odds of that, and that normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then it would have been a very different story. It's very much. I say an act of God. It's a miracle that it happened, and I'm honored by it. I'm honored by it.
It is miracle.
Well, what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted?
Well, I was going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler, and we're going to go back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic.
He said the name of the place.
It's a great area.
Pennsylvania.
These are incredible people.
For some reason,
like the three that, in the
said
case of Corey killed, and the other two, the families are. I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying,
huh?
Sorry to be so horribly interrupted, but
so rudely interrupted by an assassination attempt.
But the chart.
Some people have no manners.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that, in my last week, we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart. It's become quite a famous chart. But that was the lowest point ever recorded. It was a really.
How many of them are talking now?
I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good. Guys like Tom Holman and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. These are all people that they've been on television. They said it's the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where many people come in there, they have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting literally records, and all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes,
Sure.
and in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that, but they were fantastic numbers. But I'm going to sleep with that chart always. I'll be sleeping with that chart. That chart was very important for a lot of reasons.
Well, I mean, would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but we also need to shut down illegal immigration, and especially unvetted illegal
Yes.
immigration, because and that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately
100%.
represent your position?
I say it
Okay.
very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tip, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you, and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she
People
says,
in Vegas
comes out
will
with
love
what
this
I
one.
said, which I think is terrible.
Yeah.
And I think it's also
Not
hitting
based
them
on
very
tips
hard.
in Vegas.
These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too, you hear 12 million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or
Venezuela.
a bigger version of that is insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at, it's so sad, October 7th, because it should have never happened.
Yeah.
It's so sad
Sure.
when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something, because he's not too good.
Yeah. No, I think it is essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a secure border.
Yeah, exactly.
And secure elections too.
Yeah, absolutely, secure elections.
Yeah.
And so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country. And our service, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities. Being
overwhelmed. They're not even. They weren't helping the people they were supposed to help in the first place.
A legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well. And I'm speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant. And
I'm here.
I think like one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are gonna, be great contributors to our society and to our economy, and and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that, like in my opinion, actually, I'd say like probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not. And and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where, if somebody's if somebody's like has a career in theft or robbery, I don't understand what's taken them so long to get here, because we're in such a target-rich environment. I mean, why aren't more people who have a career in, bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob, houses in LA or New York, compared to other parts of the world. And in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested. So it's insane.
It's right. I mean, what's happening with crime,
is true.
and our
It is
police
very
are so
true.
good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I hate to say, because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it.
Robbing you,
I hate it, but
you will be arrested and charged.
you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're allowing, they're allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying out their prisons. They're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're delivering them into.
But that's what Castro did.
Yeah, well, he did on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
It was a much smaller scale. But this is a massive scale because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have.
The crime is up
this
here.
Is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be. And I saw it today in New York, where somebody was knifed, where they raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters, and started pulling out the knives. And bad things happened today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for murder and all sorts of things. And they're releasing them into our country, and they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people. These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people. And it's horrible what they're doing.
Wow.
And she's in charge of it because, now she's trying to say she had nothing to do with it. And she's such a liar because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure, but had nothing to do with the problem is. But she was the border czar, and people can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known what happened. You could shut the border down. He wouldn't even know the difference. But the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her that, the fact is you could just call her. She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's horrible.
Whether it's a question of
who did he win
last time? Either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly.
These are
people can look at my video and say, hey, these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So
these are people that Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people.
Yeah,
and these are people that we don't want in our country.
Just from hearing this,
the caravans are coming in, and they're putting. And who's doing this is the heads of the countries, and you would be doing it, and so would I. And everyone would say, "Oh, what a terrible thing to say." The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason the numbers are much bigger than you would think is they're also taking their non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them, but these are people that are non-productive. They are just not productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not workers, or
lazy.
they don't want to work, or whatever. And these countries are
Lazy
getting rid of
bums.
non-productive people in the caravans in many cases. And they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are really brutal people. And they're coming into our country at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years, we have 20 million people for it. It's a terrible
Yeah, I
thing.
think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't have a country left. Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America
This
only.
is his best interview to
South
date.
America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador.
He is sailing
Guatemala,
so high right now with
and Mexico,
Elon.
the 4.
It's not
but
even
it's
funny.
not that. It's
And
everywhere.
the
They're
best part
coming in
is,
from everywhere. And I had to stay in
Yeah, I
Mexico.
think
he's not being interrupted by any Democrat
people,
right now.
Like,
To
when I went down there, I was like, well, where are you from? It's like,
try
it's like
and
almost no one was
smooth
from
over
Mexico.
whatever he said.
Mexico left.
It's just the border. It's just the border with Mexico, but the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything.
We're already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York, and I love that place. And what they're doing to it is horrible. What they're doing to it, and all the courts do is they try and focus on Trump. Okay, let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. Elon, what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa. From the Congo, they're coming from the Congo, and 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers, and they drop them. They take them out of jails, which is very expensive, to maintain the jails. Although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons. They take them out, and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States and say, "Don't ever come back, or you're going to be executed."
I can't believe
they don't want to come back. They won't come back. But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South America. They're coming from everywhere. And there are a lot of really bad ones.
I mean, honestly, to do what?
It's just everywhere
to come here?
Thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible. So,
well, Elon, we're going to have, just to finish this up, we're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country, what they've done to our country. Think of it, with in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have. I'll tell you what, Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about
deport the criminals. They're going to deport all those good, hard work.
Put into the United States.
Why?
Same with other countries. Some are at 30%, some are at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of it? And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different. Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way, or we can do it the hard way.
Cool.
They just took him out back behind the shed and
real cool.
Shot him.
What they did with this guy, and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. and we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess if you think of it.
Well,
and we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it. You take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have inflation was caused by oil.
Yeah, I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are, are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do? And do they fear the American president, or is there someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would rightfully be. I mean, look at that the footage with the assassination. They're like, okay, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's like, whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security. That if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Schiff, some just bad people, just sick people, frankly. I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But, they put our country in danger with that stuff, too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to fund, and this pathetic president gets in there. And the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a massive job that Obama refused to allow. Yeah. I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline. Yeah. He shuts that down, and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's inconsistent. Certainly, but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners, the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security, because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of them,
and that puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one of them, and I know them well. I know Putin. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, "Oh, this is terrible." He said, "I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough. They're smart. They're vicious." And they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. When I was there, and I say it with respect, because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll pass. They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise. Sure. You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas, they had no money for Hezbollah, they had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil. But they had no money, and Israel would have never been attacked. It is zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again. Getting along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with Kim Jong-un. When I met with President Obama just before entering,
you got along well with Kim Jong-un.
I sat down with him and we talked. It was supposed to be.
That dude can't get along with anybody that's a power that's willing to talk to him. He's so isolated.
I had that problem.
Anybody desperate for their 15 minutes of fame.
Rocket Man and, all the different things. Yeah. But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they were epic everything. He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. Then I called him Little Rocket Man of Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden I got a call from him. And they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met, as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with them great. We were in no danger. But President Obama thought we were going to end up in a war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff, too. Exactly. He's got plenty of nuclear. He can do plenty of damage.
Yes, I mean, it's because, people like Kim Jong-un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well, he and I had a good relationship. Remember I met him and we walked onto his land. Nobody ever walked onto his land before. I walked onto. I wouldn't say let's bring up Secret Service again. I wouldn't say they were thrilled when I did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an amazing period. But we were not in danger with him because of me. I always say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I really don't want to give them the credit. But we have some really bad, and I say they're more dangerous than Russia and China. If you have a smart president, a president that gets it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help. I mean, we forced Obama, if you think about it, Obama and Biden, and Bush to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran, and they have North Korea. That's, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat. The biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said, we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ, He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's
Wow.
nothing on the board that goes this low. He said things that were so stupid that war would have been, that war had zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite. Everything the opposite. And it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disastrous.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the two armies, you lost 500,000 people. And, you know, Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story. But if you think about it, Russia's gone, you know, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight. And we're in a very bad position. And I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you, I could have stopped that. And a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to.
Jesus.
We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
No, I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just when looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity. And, you know, it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from 100%. Other countries.
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. You know, Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection, because it just takes one maniac to, you know, start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel has it. We're going to have an Iron Dome. But, you know, with all of that being said, to me, that's so important, the most important. But with all of that being said,
we're going to have an Iron Dome.
Want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen. And it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discussed the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum like this where I can discuss something at length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you.
No, they could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty sad.
Yes, absolutely.
But the big thing now is the economy, Elon. And as much as I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what
get that plug
Kamala
in there
and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it
with inflation. The inflation,
man, it's not a joke.
It doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're a middle income person,
it's like
I'm 4 years, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening. And we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to reduce our government spending. and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible? And we need to live within our means.
That's not where inflation comes from. That's one of the reasons inflation runs away. But that's not where inflation starts.
Roughly every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceeded the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest,
and it keeps
I
growing.
rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military. Did a great job on it, which was so important. We had jets, we had fighters that were, and bombers that were 70 years old. And we did a great job in that. Then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan. If you can believe it, we gave them 85 billion. They're one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to the economy. We have to bring energy prices down. Energy started at the price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you. That doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. They stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable. Wind and different things. You're not going to have anything. And I know you're a big fan of the AI. And I have to say that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So we're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive.
Fortunately, yes, because we never pursued energy policies that were really long-term.
A lot of electricity. You're going to need tremendous electricity, like
financial gain,
almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government overspending. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible and so the country lives within its means, just like a person.
The waste is incredible, and nobody negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I went through it, like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general walks in, sir, would you please sign this document? And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was $5.7 billion for two planes. Now, now they're highly sophisticated. They're even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
That's a crazy
number. It's a crazy number. But I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other items.
Multiply it by a
the
zillion,
numbers are astronomical. Yeah. I agree with you.
Well, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers hard-earned money is spent in a good way.
That's right.
And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy to help
by the way,
out.
congratulations.
Yeah.
I just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. The new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's awesome.
he's great. And he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought everything. But he's doing a big job. He really cut. And I'm hearing they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. They had like 2,000%. They had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to have that. I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years.
They want strong leaders.
They don't include a lot of the items that should be included.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money effectively, and having just so many departments you can't even name them all. And what Malay is doing is he's cutting government spending. He's simplifying things. He's putting in regulations that make sense. And Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement in prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. In the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy,
the United States
it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States in thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy, we can run the country into the ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education. So we're ranked at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7. But we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education. But of the 50,
horrible.
I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15 of them, or 20 of them, will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean,
how that is.
Some of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't
at
know
the
what
exact
debt
same
is.
level.
We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well run.
Sure.
And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in
education back
the
on
land,
the
or the sun and the water and the whole thing. There are a lot of advantages to some people. But if you move education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well. But you'll have, they'll actually be forced to do better, because it'll be a pretty bad situation. But if you think about it, you'll have some of these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than half what it is in Washington. And
Yeah.
these people
that's
don't care
why.
Well,
about
yeah.
students in these, faraway states, and it'd
Well,
be unbelievable.
yeah. I think you're making a good point in that if the states have to if each state has to compete against other states, then people will naturally
right.
move to states where it's better.
Well, like California, as we said, it's a badly run state. I could go through. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But
Yeah.
but some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But
No, it's not.
you're not going to do worse
I'll
than
be
you're
the
doing
first
right
one to
now.
say, no,
And I
it's
would
not.
say
It's
that
been
the
done
cost,
before,
you
and
would
it's
cut your
failed.
cost by 50 or
Move on.
60%.
Next subject.
And you'd have a little
Yeah, yeah.
monitor. You want to make sure they're teaching
Yeah.
English as an example. Give us a
Yeah.
little English, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
No, but I mean, to what? I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul
Yeah,
salesman
Elon
of the year
Musk is
award
moving out of
because they're
California.
driving so much
He's not
U-Haul.
moving
It's
out of
actually
California for
amazing.
People
education.
moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a
That's a
businessman
fact.
that they
He's
can even
not moving out
survive?
of
Like
California
Illinois,
because of education.
so many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? I saw where you left California and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, I mean, I just wonder, how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. How do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses and their taxes are already really high? The taxes are among the highest
Yeah.
taxes. You almost wonder,
Those
how do they
businesses, the
how
state
do they
wasn't
continue
relying on
on?
those
And
businesses'
in
tax
many
money
cases, the
anyway.
governors don't do a good job, and they're crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not a good situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal government.
Ouch.
Right. Well,
That's the only thing that's going to get them to change.
You remember
Yeah,
the
that
area
definitely
in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So what is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know every one of these, and some are very good, and some are just horrible.
Well, I think that the larger point here, too, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the economy. A lot of people are concerned about.
Uh-oh.
Did they walk out the room?
I don't know. Let's see. I think I got stuck, so hang on.
on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for everyone we put in, you have to get rid of 10.
Now I have to use my phone.
And we did radical cuts on all of that, and a lot of that's being put back by this administration.
So maybe you can help me do it on your side, just in case I ran out of battery.
Best economy ever
Yeah, let
made
me
in the
go
world.
back
And then
and
what happened is COVID came in,
I'm on
and
the
we had
wrong
to focus
person
on
right
that,
now.
and nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right. But had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, you know, we're sitting on the biggest pile of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And we were going to drill, and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline, and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in, and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came in, you know, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. You know, we got over that bad period where everybody was dying and, you know, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, you know, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration, and we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for, you know, almost 3 years. We had the great, and you know that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years. And also said that African-American, Hispanic-American were so incredible. They were having the best. Asian-American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better. And everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and we had trillions and trillions of. They shouldn't have taken any money and wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about, like, you know, maybe my views on, you know, climate change and oil and gas, because I mean, I think I'm probably different from what most people would assume, because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving and the economy would collapse. So it's, you know, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry. And I, you know, the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. Sure. And it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there it's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think the risk is not as high as you know, a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2,
you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So I mean, it still gives us.
You have to click listen
still
live.
have quite a bit of time, but so there's not like we don't need to
Click listen
rush,
live.
and we don't need to like
You getting a good
stop
page?
farmers from farming
Your page.
or
Yeah, listen live.
prevent people
You
from
see the
having
purple
steaks
box?
or
Right.
basic
Mhm.
stuff like that. Like
You have to-
leave the farmers
You have to
alone.
click
How crazy is that? Where
Listen
you have
live.
farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world
Yeah,
is a
that's
little
silly.
crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I just say though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car
Connecting.
and create the electricity needed for the electric car,
Start
fossil
listening.
fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants, and so you sort of can't get away
Is
from
it
it
on?
at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to.
No,
But
not
I do
yet.
hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous,
There
like
it is.
Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. How's that?
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
He ended his, but it just ended
Yeah.
it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's Anwar. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they
What happened?
No, it's nothing that's. I don't see an audio.
Earlier is
on.
on.
Yeah, it's I lost connection.
Because we can't scroll. Because when we scroll, we lost connection.
They're not gonna touch it or anything because this is not supposed to be.
All right. Hang on. Jesus. So let me know when you're in.
It's okay. It's like it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally energy generation in the future, and it's certainly trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries. So because obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge the electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla's trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe that environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, they're cool. In fact, literally, I made this sexy joke. Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It was probably the most expensive joke out there. But I don't know. I like cheesy humor, So, but I'm a big fan of let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards a better future. And we can do so without demonizing people.
Right. I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because, you have some places that go up, and so they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But, I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars. And it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first. But it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world,
sure,
where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me,
Sure.
that's an immediate problem because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear and probably some others are getting there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're
Can you try again on yours?
sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number 1, and we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that, you're not surprised to hear very fast. They'll end up catching up. Maybe even surpassing. But to me, the biggest problem is not climate change. It's not, and everything's a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk about I'll prevent World War III, I will. But the truth is that you have to, because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is a level of destruction and power that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I'm not trying to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. And there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. You compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is just. It's a rough name. There are some areas like when you see what happened in
good bad branding.
Right, we'll have to rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
When you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they, there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No, that's not true.
But you're right about it. It's amazing.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So it's really not something that
That's right.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically.
Yeah.
But let's see. I mean, are there some other topics we should touch on? Like lawfare. I think
Well,
we need to be concerned about
what they've done to this country.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just won the big
I mean,
case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won.
Cut it out.
They always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs. They use the local attorney generals, like Fani, Fani, spelled Fani, Fani, and it's all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before, and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare. It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up because people see, fortunately I have a platform like you, or, in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach, and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing that for a long time. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he can't lift it. The whole thing is crazy.
Well, he's clearly. I mean, he's clearly like we just don't have a president right now.
You don't have a president, and she's going to be working.
All right.
Massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country this election.
Sorry, we crashed.
Opinion.
Hey,
Now,
Can you hear me?
you may
getting there
but
a little bit.
I got a letter from the
1 second.
EU Commission, like saying, to not have disinformation on during this discussion that we're having,
So
like,
now we're
and
down to
there's
5
there's
people.
a lot of
Talking
attempts
for an
to
hour so far.
do censorship
Hang on 1
and
second.
to force censorship even on Americans from other countries. And what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO, we protect them. And yet, if you build a car in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. We have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. If you add up the European nations that in terms of an economy, it's about the same size. Wouldn't you say as us? And they're in, and they're in much greater risk. They're right there. We have an ocean separating us from. In this case, the enemy would be Russia. It used to be for the Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is they're in for 70-something million. I think even less than that, billion. And we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than that. And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not. But they should, and I did it with
You know
NATO.
why we're paying, Donald?
There were only 7 countries that were paid up in NATO out of 28 at the time.
We make demand.
And the United States was subsidizing. The United States was subsidizing NATO.
Weak.
Tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I said, I went in and I said, you got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in. And
I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a disproportionate share of the NATO expenses.
And then we get
even though,
taken
like,
advantage of on trade. So think
yeah,
about it.
well, I mean, the point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's it's like, then okay, well, why is the United States paying disproportionately more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair, and that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well, when you talk about
so-
cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean, honestly, look, there's nobody that feels worse about the Ukraine situation than I do, because I know it would have never happened. I know Zelensky. He was very honorable to me, because when they went with the Russia hoax and they said I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it was a very nice phone call. I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached because these people are lunatics.
Yeah.
I was talking about the difference from the people within and the enemies on the outside. In many cases, the people from within are more dangerous for our country than the Russians and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
Yeah.
Now, they've taken advantage of us
absolutely.
incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't, because she's not smart. She's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, where am I? Where am I going? So anyway, but no, he wouldn't have this.
That's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that we can have a conversation, and I'm able to get it out because I get treated unfairly.
This is a really big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like it's not possible.
That's
so this is like talking to an NPC.
No.
So it's just impossible.
Well, but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner. We had everything. And he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. A lot of people said, oh, do you think he really?
That's for
Let
sure.
me tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship. And he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man, he said. He's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But, in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it, but I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now, Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating, or even standing together? It is, the whole concept is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, maybe it's like, I think part of what people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the future is going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future.
They want the American dream back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our, the Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent. And when I debated him, I was like, is this for?
Uh-oh. What happened?
For real? Real? It was.
Yeah, it was just
Twitter.
What happened?
They're still dealing with their DDoS. Well, at least I say this much: Twitter, he's got some good people over there to where they can keep it up and running this long, this much, with people actively trying to tear it down
and
deny the service.
And
yeah. Okay.
There's some good people over there. He's got some good people over there.
So
they keep it up this much.
I think we could do some things that like China's got incredible high-speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels.
Okay. Hang on one second.
If it was deregulation with an ability to
trains where there is a danger there, with people, with crazy people. Yeah. It's much safer, much better. And, it's sad because I've seen some of the greatest systems and how they work, and the bullet trains, they call them, I guess. Sense that we don't. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think also like there's, I'm kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes illegal, right. and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take the sort of like, I think there's room for some reform at the FDA for improving the speed with which we approve drugs that could help save lives and improve people's lives. And
I worked very hard on that. We got that down to the lowest number ever, and we got therapeutics approved in the FDA that people can't even believe the speed. But I took them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regeneron, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
Yeah, it just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take months, and that improves people's lives. I think I just wanted to hop on this point that like there has to be an active process for reducing rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year, and you get like hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever, and then we.
What happened? Okay, don't do that. Let's see. Okay.
I'm looking, but it's
okay.
There we go.
Coming back.
Ossify as a society. We just
somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative.
Yeah.
Okay. Of thousands of lives right to try. Hopefully you never need it. But if you do, you don't have to travel to Asia. You know, people, if they had money, they go to Asia, they go to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They go home and die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and actually, to give Europe some props here, it's like if a drug is approved in
Europe, everybody's getting home, getting online.
It should obviously be approved in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, they got more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We did something that really.
Okay.
They've been trying to do it for 50 years, and they just couldn't get it
again,
done.
so you can
and it's
close that one
it's
if
really
you
something.
want.
But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug
If you
isn't
want.
approved here, but it's approved in Europe, and it's a drug that
I'll just leave it right there
generally
in
speaking
case
would
you
work.
want to go back.
Okay,
Absolutely.
sounds good.
And
Thank you.
I think so as long as people are properly informed of the pros and cons and like these are the risks, this is the risk, and like you make your own decision. That makes sense.
Well, I think just
We have
sort of
144
and by
people
the way, I'm
joining
looking
us.
at the
Thank
numbers. You got a
you.
lot of people listening.
Appreciate it.
I hope you don't get
Yeah.
nervous because you got a lot of people listening to you right now, like 60 million or something.
6
What is that
million.
number? It's crazy. It's amazing how you
We
can
got a
see that right away. How
tiny
many? What is the
small
number?
portion of it. 144.
What is it?
Right?
Yeah. We got us a tiny little piece.
I think
Well, that's bigger than you said.
145.
You said 25 and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're going to be 60 or 70. And I guess over a period of time, hey, I congratulate you. Do I get paid for this or not?
Well, I
I'll
think
take
actually
you out to
that will
eat, Thomas,
hear
for this.
conversation over the next few days,
Right.
week. It's
Fish
going
and
to be
chips.
hundreds.
That's
of
what they say. Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an honor. I just
Fish
asked
and
this:
chips?
are you better off now, or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that, and nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it, and they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over. I mean, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people. And my mom lives in New York, and I was like, Mom, do have any of your friends been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, three of her friends in 3 separate incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. Like, and they just know
they always get away.
Nothing's going to, and they don't even bother reporting it because they know that they're not going to, people are not going to get prosecuted. They just let violent criminals out in New York.
The only one that gets prosecuted is Donald Trump. They prosecute Trump.
Yeah, I mean it's just obviously messed up.
Oh, it's terrible.
If violent criminals are being getting off scot-free, and meanwhile the New York spending massive resources prosecuting you, and it's like what's this? And I think the sort of sensible public looked at this and said, what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. The legal system is supposed to be protecting the public from violent criminals, and it should be obviously allowing the public to make their own decision about who should be president, as opposed to some legal case.
Once they start this precedent, because this can go on with the next one. I mean, this is a very bad precedent what they're doing in terms of going after their political opponent, and that's all it is. It's going after their political opponent, and then you get a judge who's a strong Democrat, and I'm being nice when I say that. In many cases, crooked as hell. But you get a judge, and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote, and you'll have a jury pool with people that
Face.
Republicans or hate. It could also be the other way, though, because it could start the other way in areas where they hate Democrats. And
that's
you
not
get into a
that's not
Pandora's
a
box. It's a
media
very
thing.
dangerous thing for this country, and a very
Follow
dangerous thing
Jim
even for the
Face.
state.
Jim Face
New
on
York
X.
City is
Yes,
losing. New
absolutely.
York City and state lose a lot of business over what they did to me, because these people say, we don't want that to happen to us. That's no justice system. You have an unfair system of justice, and it's costing New York State a tremendous amount of money. People are leaving and companies are leaving, and they won't come back. So, all of that stuff is important. But the economy now is the big thing, and we can turn that economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of inflation.
I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Right.
Absolutely. So,
and I just want
I
want to
think,
congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I can talk about rockets.
It's kind of you to say. Thank you.
Tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars. So many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty of it. So it's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And I just to say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a lot of things.
I think that's a very real risk.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
It's a very real risk.
Yep.
And it's, I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before. And if you look at my record, I've actually been, I'm not like, some they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd, because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries, helping with the environment. And I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president. And so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed-in-the-wool long-term Republican. I'd call myself historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously we're just going to see an even further left administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. She was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not we're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture, and I think this is a case of the America. Is kind of at a fork in the road, and I think it will take the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president, and I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you, and I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's even more of an honor to have your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America. And now it's almost not livable there. And California, likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California. And she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope the elections are going to be run honestly. And
That's
we're going
strange.
to turn this country around. We're going to do things and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists. And they're in our country by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And we have to take them out.
Yeah. I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to restore both the perception and reality of respect in the judicial system. Just stop the lawfare, and I think that's like. And how are those even right-wing positions? I think those are just that's just common sense, and that's. I mean, would you agree with that?
100%.
100%.
I don't understand, the whole, they call it progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore, but call it liberal or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you their crime rates all over the world are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay, so we'll go. You and I will go, and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela because that's what's happening. Their crime rates coming down, and our crime rates going through the roof. And it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated, and they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of law enforcement. And our police, I have to just end with this. We have great police. We have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their job. They have to be able to do their job without being destroyed.
Well, absolutely. And it's obviously demoralizing
right.
if you're a police officer risking your life to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes. And then you arrest the violent criminal and then the DA, doesn't prosecute and that's let the guy out.
Right.
Well, then why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon?
Well, even worse, Elon,
nothing's going to happen.
Even worse, they prosecute the police officer. they go after it and they prosecute the police officer and they take away his pension.
Jeez.
They take away his job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times Square in New York, and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California.
Wow.
Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how. I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? How can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. We see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you had about six of these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot.
Yes.
They would be shot instantly. And, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness. And it's such a sad, it's such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way, because we don't do anything about it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is unacceptable.
Well, we're going to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. When I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept it. And you know what happened? They all called me, every one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got it back. We took in so many, the MS-13 is probably the worst gangs in the world. They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by the thousands and got them out of here. And their countries took them back. And because I said, you're not getting any more economic aid. And once I said that, they were nice. They wouldn't take them back for Obama. They wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
Yeah. It's just gotta be done. We just can't have whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have, because they won't prosecute citizens either, not just illegals. So you can't have violent, repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get incarcerated.
That's right.
Because they will obviously, by definition, continue to hurt people. And I think where part of this comes from is that there's and I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that you want to have empathy for people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You have one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole, not shallow empathy for criminals.
Right. And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people. And we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys. And they're smart people, and they're streetwise people. And they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by stupid people, and they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no problem. We got them out. We took out thousands of MS-13 gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So, I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight. Yeah. And I didn't need this. I didn't need this. I had a very nice life. I didn't need this. To go through court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life. I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have places. But I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life. We're going to save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're going to stop crime.
Like, the facts speak for themselves.
It's so incredible.
Speak for themselves. Like it's got to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime in a lot of cities because they know nothing is going to happen. That's what I hear anecdotally from people all the time. So, it's just, my values, I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is like, we've got to have safe cities, we've got to have secure borders, we've got to have sensible spending, and we've got to have deregulation, and
Right.
so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about. And, that's the future I'm looking for. And, I'm pro-environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like, I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry, because they're keeping civilization going right now. And but I do think we want to move, at a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think, and so I mean that's why I'm supporting you for president.
Well,
so.
I appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations. And we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore, Elon. You don't hear. You're the American dream in the truest sense, but you don't hear about the American dream anymore. And you're going to hear about it. People, they need that incentive to go out and do it. And they're going to love their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they can't stand, or not any job at all, where they have no money, where they literally have no money. And then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're going to do some
if he
great
really
things.
wants to
I
promote
learned a
that,
lot of
what he needs to
great
start
economy,
doing
all of that.
is having his
We rebuilt
businesses,
did so
have
much,
his
but
kids move their
I also
personal
learned, and I
businesses
also learned the
into
best people. I learned the good
avenues
people,
where
the
they're
smart
hiring
people, the
people and
dumb people,
paying
the
them
people that can do things. The people,
competitive,
you
good
learn.
wages.
When I first came in, I
Hey,
tell people I
hey,
was in Washington, D.C. only
yeah,
17 times,
I
according to the
agree.
fake news media. I was in
We have to.
17 times. I never stayed over. And you don't know people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now, we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have, used them had I known. Now I know everybody. And I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country. And I really appreciate this. To me, it's been a lot of fun being with you. You're an amazing guy. You've done an incredible job and a great inspiration to people, a great inspiration. And I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up. And I think November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election. And I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country, because if we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization, and I think we need to take the right path, and I think you're the right path. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And it's been really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you got a lot. I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Cool. Thank you for everyone who joining us. Thank you again. Thank you, Thomas, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was
remember
great time.
Remember to subscribe, follow so you can know when will be the next one. And you have any last comment? Really quick for everybody.
I'm frozen right now. But no, don't have any last comments. Make sure you all subscribe and check out the channels. Support the work and the effort. We're doing this not because we want to be famous, but because we want to be famous.
We will have that. What is it called? 15 minutes fame.
Yeah. Way longer than 15 minutes today.
Yeah, we end up with 3 hours and 15 minutes fame.
Yeah, we're hanging out with a lot. I ain't never hang out with this many people for this long.
Yeah. So thank you again and have a good night. I think the next one we will be, having the watch party will be the Kamala and Trump debate coming up.
Yeah, starting Thursday, this Thursday, I'll be out of town for a couple of days, and then
Yeah.
we'll be back next week to
Okay.
participate with the lives and the events.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good
You're
night.
welcome. Talk to you soon. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.